Welcome to another edition of The Night Shift. Mike Stubbs and Jim Van Horne. Kyle is off this week. We are going to talk London Knights. We are going to talk NCAA. We've got to talk teddy bear toss. We talked with Alex Brown on Friday night. He joined our broadcast. Love when Alex does that. Just jumped up, put on the headset, and we could talk about all kinds of things. And so we asked him, how soon do you get calls wondering the date of the teddy bear toss? Does that start before the schedule comes out? And in some cases, yes, it does, even before the OHL schedule comes out, but largely after it. So lots of excitement. London continues to hold the record for most teddy bears tossed, just a shade under 16,000. We've got to thank Sav Neth and the London Knights official fan club. You can find the show all over the place, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Look for us on the London Knights YouTube page as well. The Knights are coming off a home and home, Jim Van Horne, where it goes, again, junior hockey. What did we talk about after the games in the North? You would think the Knights would have a pretty good chance of winning the first two, and then that third one, that'd be tough. Junior hockey, the opposite happens. And then this time around, home and home. Saginaw's been playing really well. They can be tough on their home ice. Yeah, probably London wins Friday, Saginaw wins Saturday. Junior hockey, Jim, the opposite happens.
It's so true, isn't it? And I think you and I have been around long enough to have seen the entire Hunter years and their regime, and you just never know when the bounce back is going to happen. And how many times have we looked at a game and it's like, oh my, this could be ugly, and the Knights come up with a big performance. That's what happens, and it didn't look great after the first two games in the Northern trip, and losing to Sudbury, and it was a quiet ride to the Sault and Sault Ste. Marie. The Knights put together a great performance against a really good team in that case. And then Saginaw, same kind of thing. 2-1 lead into the third on a Friday night at home. You think, okay, 10 minutes left. That's, you'd like to have another one, but then all of a sudden, Saginaw responds with three. Then the Knights go to Saginaw again. Didn't look great. And the Knights outscore the Spirit in the building that they've had quite a bit of success in recent times. Maybe not that Memorial Cup final game, but no, they've been able to pull some points out of Saginaw. And here we are. The Knights go from second seed to a sixth seed, now a 4 seed, all in the space of, what was it, 3 or 4 days.
That's right. Because
Right,
you
for the
look at
Western
how
Conference.
tight the standings are. London, Owen Sound, Kitchener coming into Saturday night separated by 1 point. So Owen Sound and Kitchener lose. The Knights win. They jump up. And then the next day, Owen Sound beats Kingston with a big third period. They now leapfrog the London Knights. And so these three teams, what do you think, Jim? The rest of the way, depending on what moves are made, are we just going to see these teams kind of fight it out for top spot? Do they seem like the teams in the Midwest?
Yeah, I think so. And it is a little bit unusual to see really the strength in Windsor and Flint. Flint has been red hot, and they've jumped up and are competing. Technically, today, with the game in hand, Flint is actually, if they win that game in hand, they could be ahead of Windsor. And that is a tribute to Flint. And this week, their coach, Paul Houck, celebrated the winningest coach in Flint franchise history. And he got a bit of a shower and a bit of a water celebration and a shower. We've seen that with Dale Hunter, too, in the dressing room. So they're very upbeat about their play in Flint these days.
Well, let's look a little more carefully at the Knights and Saginaw on the Friday night and then on the Saturday. The Friday game between the Knights and the Spirit as London returned home, played their first home game since November the 16th. There's a few more home games coming up now, and the Teddy Bear Toss is the big one. And as we record this podcast, depending on when you are listening, we have learned that there could be a block of tickets that open up on the Monday afternoon. So if you're listening to this anytime after Monday afternoon, go to LondonKnights.com and you might still be able to get Teddy Bear Toss tickets. More on that in just a bit. If you look at the Knights and the Saginaw Spirit, sports is not scripted. No matter what people might want to think, you can't script what goes on. But it was really strange in that the Toronto Maple Leafs and the London Knights were on the same script where both teams had a 2-1 lead into the third period, late-ish into the third period, and then they were playing, in the Leafs' case, Washington, and in the Knights' case, Saginaw, all red, white, and blue teams. I don't know if we need a tinfoil hat for this part, but for whatever reason, the red, white, and blue on Thanksgiving weekend in the United States manages to come back and tie the game and then take a lead and then score an empty netter to seal it. Very strange. Look back at that Leafs and Washington game. It was almost identical from the third period to the end of the game. Overall, though, the Knights are going to look back at that. It became a toss-up after Saginaw had tied it, and then Carson Harmer finds his way to the front of the net and scores. One of the most unique things in that game was a goal that was scored at the end of the first period. And Jim, we're lucky enough in Knights history to have seen some goals scored with less than a second left. You may have the most famous goal in junior hockey ever scored with .1 seconds left. That's hard to do. It wins a championship in Game 7. Bo Horvat, who we're going to talk about a little later on when we look at names that are certainly gaining a lot of attention for Canada's Olympic team. Bo's is one of them. But we have that. It's tough to top that. But we had a really nice, maybe close second on an end-to-end rush that was set up by Logan Howery to Braden Clark. And we had a chance for those two to take us through that goal as they saw it from the Friday night game against the Saginaw Spirit. 11 seconds to play in the first period. Knights trying to get out of the first period.
Puck was in our end for a while, and I was just trying to get it out. So I just supported our D down low and got the puck and just kind of just chipped it to the middle of the Clarkie.
Howery, nifty little pass. Talk to us about the pass, because a lot of times you don't want to chip a puck maybe toward the middle of the ice. But in this case, what makes that okay?
I saw the guy. He was coming straight down at me, and there was no one on Clarkie, so I just kind of gave a little area pass, and he just skated into it.
Finds Braden Clark down right wing with some speed.
You know, I knew when I got out there to begin my shift, I only had like 30 seconds. So, you know, when I had that puck, I just tried to make sure I got the red line, and
gets around a hit.
I saw the D trying to hip check me, so I kind of squeezed by him. And once I hit that blue line, I knew I had 5 seconds. I heard it, so and then I just tried to shoot it.
Shoot, scores! With .9 seconds left in the first period. Is that as close as you've ever come to a buzzer?
Oh yeah, that was close.
Braden Clark, end to end, 1-0 Knights.
I didn't think he had a chance to do that. What a move to get around the D, and I thought that it was not going to happen, but Clark quickly skirts by the D. It's hard to beat a D one-on-one as a forward in this league, and he did it, and he knew, almost like he had a clock in his head, knowing that it was winding down, and then fires one high glove side. What speed he showed there. Braden Clark admits it. Somebody yelled 5 seconds. You always have to communicate in this game, right, Jim?
Exactly right. And I look at that goal in another way, too, in the bigger picture. How has Braden Clark played the last couple of weeks, and what an addition his offense has been? I mean, he's been able to take 20 games or so to get comfortable in the new league. And I'll tell you, this guy brings a lot to the table. He can win faceoffs, he can kill penalties, and the offense is starting to follow as he's getting more and more comfortable. I think he's going to be a guy that the Knights are really going to lean on in the second half. And he just has that maturity and confidence now. And what a great deal of that he showed in squeezing by a very good defenseman, Levi Harper, and getting to the net and kind of, as you say, having that, I guess he got some information, 5 seconds, and he kind of put that clock right in his head and was able to take a shot, glove side high, and .9 seconds on the clock. Very exciting, and just an indication of how he's come along and how much the Knights are going to lean on him in the second half.
And you said it, getting used to the league. And Braden Clark even admitted it earlier this season that coming into the OHL, it's a different style. Last year, he was playing NCAA. He's played in some other leagues as well. He finds the OHL less physical, believe it or not, from what the NCAA will show. And we've had talks with scouts, and it is the best description where you've got players who are not playing games all week. And they know that Friday night is coming, and that's going to be the game. And scouts will tell you, yeah, first 10 minutes of an NCAA game on a Friday night, I don't write anything down because I need the guys just to get that adrenaline out, get rid of that energy, and they're out. And even if they're not making a
the
play,
band is playing, the fans are just so hyped up.
Bedlam. And they're just going out, they're going to hit somebody. And so Braden Clark admitted it's a different physicality in the OHL, but this is a really smart hockey player and a really skilled hockey player. So he's going to figure that out. And he feels like he's really figuring some things out. And now he's just into that groove of the OHL game. So big goal. It ends up not being a victory, but then what do you do next? And it was a game that was very different on the Saturday night. Friday night, we didn't have a power play until there were under 30 seconds left on the clock, and it went to Saginaw. It was kind of a nothing power play. It came after a scrum after the empty net goal. And then on Saturday, again, junior hockey, same two teams. How many power plays? The London Knights were power play after power play after power play. They wind up 3 for 7 on the man advantage. It became, Jim, a huge part of the game.
And throw in the penalty kill, which threw a shutout at Saginaw on Saturday. And that was really the key to the game. You know, you look at +3 on your goals scored and allowed on special teams, and you got a 3-goal margin in the final result, 8-5. So that was so critical. I think on the Friday game, the Knights just maybe tried to nurse that 2-1 lead going home and had a little too much, not maybe respect for the Spirit. And closed in a little bit, backed in on Medvedev, allowed the Spirit a little too much space in their own zone, and moving the puck out. The Knights moved the puck out much easier in the Saturday game, and were able to spend a little more time in the offensive zone. So you're right. If you want to see how you never know quality, that last weekend's games, both hosting Saginaw and in Saginaw, unpredictable, and that's what makes it so much fun.
You know what was a big part of Saturday that needs to be talked about is the return of Cohen Bidgood. He missed 15 games. There was a little something that was bothering him, but he was playing through it, and then it was, okay, let's make this 100% okay. And so he has to step away for 15 games, more than a month. Yeah. And yet he comes back into the lineup. And Jim, he is somebody that gives you so many great qualities. NHL scouts write stuff down about Cohen Bidgood a lot because he goes to the net. He's hungry to get to the net. He's in the high traffic areas. He's able to draw penalties. He drew a couple of those 7 power plays that the Knights had. And it was simply by moving his feet and being involved. How great was it to see him back in the lineup?
Absolutely. And it just seems to come so naturally to him. That's probably the way he's played in his entire career. He knows that's my game. That's what I have to do to be successful. No disrespect. I don't think he's going end-to-end rush in the Ontario Hockey League too often. But boy, as far as winning pucks along the boards and being a presence in front of the net, and as you say, keeping the legs moving, drawing penalties. When you look at how you break through when you're having trouble scoring goals, he embodies everything that you have to do, keeping it simple, just kind of fighting for position, having the good stick near the net and taking the goalie's eyes away, and then jumping on a rebound or two. He got 2 assists in the game against Saginaw, and throw in the penalties that he drew. And there's that's a big difference, as you say, a big addition to the lineup that the Knights have been missing for 15 games, was it, that he missed? That's a big part of the season. So the Knights are certainly glad to have him back.
Yeah, great performer. A guy who is a gamer. Must be that Peterborough upbringing. You learn how to go to the gray areas and do the hard things in Peterborough. So Cohen Bidgood, big addition for the London Knights. Next up for the Knights, Jim, will be the teddy bear toss. And this has become such an event. Thank you in advance to the London Knights official fan club for what they have been doing already in gathering up stuffed toys. So a couple of quick rules. Make sure that if you're coming to the game that your toys are in bags, so in a plastic bag. Otherwise, they can't be used by the Salvation Army. And now that we've got these AI toys that'll be your little companion, by the way, there are psychologists looking at this and saying, I don't think this is a good idea. No, if you look at what chatbots do, they try and make you their friend. It's all about the attention that you give to the chatbot. They'll tell you that, yeah, you don't need any other friends. You got me. But that's not a real thing. However, to be an AI chatbot toy, you tend to have some hardware in there. Don't want to throw those. It's like in the Tickle Me Elmo days. You did not want to take a Tickle Me Elmo in the back of the head because somebody had not thrown it all the way onto the ice. Plus, if you do make it all the way onto the ice, does Elmo still laugh after he's landed from an 80-foot drop? I don't know.
I doubt
I'm
it.
thinking there's a chance that he might not. So save those for other drop-off locations. We've got a toy drive at the Delta London Armories from Taz and Jim from FM 96. You can drop those ones off there if you have them. So make them plush toys without hard things in. But we've seen so many amazing things through this teddy bear toss over the years. First goals, Jared Woolley, his first goal is the teddy bear toss goal. Can you imagine that? You haven't scored in the OHL. It's always a thrill for everybody to do it, but you score and Bears rain down. That's just a moment you cannot create.
Patrick Barbieri, I think, was he
First
the first
goal.
one? First one in the teddy bear toss era, and forever he'll have that honor. No one else can take that away from him. I know Colin Martin has scored a teddy bear toss goal. Mitch Marner. Marner actually is one of my favorite memories. It wasn't very long into the teddy bear toss where the teams would come out and help pick up the bears. And it used to be in the very early beginning, the workers did it. And that was it. The players just kind of waited it out. And then the players, I think it was the Knights and Sault Ste. Marie, and the players started helping pick up. Well, Mitch Marner, in his very early years, was out helping pick up the bears. And right beside him, another worker helping pick up the bears, she fell. And it was a pretty good thump on the ice, and Mitch had a bear in his arm, and he looks and he said, "This person needs help." So Mitch dropped his bear and helped that person up, and that was Mitch. You know, anything he could do, and it sort of speaks to the innocence of junior hockey, that these are still young men. You and I heard chatter on the way home from Saginaw about they were already getting ready. I wanted about who was going to get the teddy bear toss goal. I want to do it. And the innocence and the sort of youthfulness of junior hockey is all wrapped up. Guys jumping into piles, and their smiles are as big as the kids who are going to get these bears eventually. And another great story I love about the teddy bear toss in London is Sav, the fan club. What a story that you tell quite often about his, getting a teddy bear and then becoming the distributor, one of the main distributors of teddy bears. So Sav, thank you for everything you've done. I'll echo what Mike has said. And again, this year, a lot of people in need are going to benefit from his kindness.
Yeah, when he was a kid, he received a teddy bear from the teddy bear toss, and now he is very responsible for the latest record breaker that was set by the London Knights last year when Landon Sim scored the goal. And sometimes there are goalies who won't let pucks by, and you get into the second period. Remember the rule, and this actually has a London Knights tie to it. The rule is if you haven't scored by the midway mark of the third period, there will be an announcement, and the Bears are thrown onto the ice at that point so that you don't have to wonder what to do, like back in 2004 when the Knights and the Guelph Storm played themselves into a 0-0 tie at the end of the game. And there were kind of moments when fans just went, well, I got to get the kids home to bed. And onto the ice, the Bears went. So there were a couple of different moments. There are also Bears raining down as the London Knights are taking a team picture on the ice after they had broken the record for longest unbeaten streak in the Canadian Hockey League to start a season. So pretty remarkable to look back. And if you don't know the start of the teddy bear toss, this is also one of the greatest stories. So this goes back, I think it's to 1993, and the Kamloops Blazers, who in the early 90s and mid 90s were the best team in junior hockey. They won 3 Memorial Cups over the span of, I believe it's 4 years. So they have a marketing director in the early 90s sitting in their office. And there's a teddy bear that just happens to be on the shelf in the office. And it was there kind of as just little decoration. You have little things around your office, a picture of the kids, and there's a pet rock and whatever else. So there's a teddy bear up on the shelf. And there was work being done outside the arena where Kamloops played. And so work trucks were going by, big dump trucks and big noisy trucks, and they would rattle the walls sometimes. And so one drove by and it rattled the wall, and the teddy bear fell off the shelf.
Ah.
And the marketing director looked and went, you know,
Wait a minute.
if we could get fans to bring bears, we could have them kind of throw them onto the ice. And then one after the other, the ideas came together. And I believe the first year it was toys and they just brought toys, but eventually it became the toss onto the ice. Calgary owned it for a while. Now, if you really want to see video of a teddy bear toss going crazy, it's Hershey, where they are the Hershey Bears.
Okay.
But they've embraced this to the tune of the world record. So they will have so many bears, not all of them are thrown, because that would just, you'd still be counting them today. But they will have them dropped off, and ultimately a lot will be thrown, but they will collect upwards of 50,000 plush toys. And all of them are this is the best part. All of them are handed out by different organizations, often the Salvation Army, to help brighten up a holiday season. And that is truly what it is all about. So there may still be tickets if you're listening to this on the Monday. Check out Monday afternoon. And even if you're listening on the Tuesday, check out londonnights.com and see whether or not you can find tickets to go and see the London Knights and the Kitchener Rangers. Remember, it's a 6:30 start time, so you've got to be in your seats by then. As Jim said, Knights are excited. I mean, Jackson Culver was talking about it. He's coming off a performance in Saginaw where he had a goal and 2 assists, riding a hot hand. If he scores a minute in, that's when the Bears come down. And if you're thinking, the game doesn't begin till 7, you're not going to be throwing your bear at the right time. You'll be there at the end holding your bear thinking, do I throw it now? Do we do it now? So it is always just a ton of fun. And thank you to the volunteers in advance for their work in picking up the bears, because there may be another record that I don't think we have a possibility of getting, but it is fastest cleanup. Because, Jim, you and I have been part of a lot of teddy bear tosses on the road. And at one time, there was one year, I think London was scheduled for 11 of the 20 on the road, or 11 of the 19 on the road. So the pickup is done in London so efficiently that I think if you put a timer on it per bear, I think you'd have another record there. I think you'd have fastest cleanup.
Those Finch trucks get out on the ice, and what do they call them? The Gaylords, I think,
Yes.
are the big bins. And boy, it is a machine. And the players now get in and help, and after they jump into the bears, and it's a great scene all around. Kind of you have your, one of 2 or 3 posts that mark the holiday season, the turning on the lights at Victoria Park. And another one is the teddy bear toss, and it kicks the holiday season into another gear.
Well, that holiday season also comes with basically the halfway mark. We've got the roster coming out for Canada's final selection camp for the World Juniors. We'll see what names are on that, because those players are going to be leaving in essentially the first, about December 10th, I think, depending on when everybody's final game is, but it's usually December 10th. And so we'll watch for that. And then if we take stock of where things are, the Brantford Bulldogs, we've got to update them. We mentioned on the last podcast that Jet Luchenko had been traded to Brantford by the Guelph Storm as the Storm begin to look ahead to host the 2027 Memorial Cup tournament. So he's in Brantford, and he gets there, and Brantford had not lost in regulation. And here we are 3 games later, and Jim, Brantford has lost twice in regulation. And you go thinking, You add in a guy who made the Philadelphia Flyers as an 18-year-old, and you don't win by 12 each and every time out. And this almost goes to what's happening with the Ottawa Senators. Brady Tkachuk comes back. The wins aren't rolling because same sort of thing with the World Juniors. You've got players who go out of the lineup and everybody in the room goes, all right, I got to have a bigger edge. I mean, it's human nature. You bring star players in, and it's human nature to just go, okay, yeah, those guys are here. We're going to be good. When Brantford figures out, and they will very quickly, they're very well coached. They're an excellent team. When they figure out that it's okay to have that same edge and Jet Luchenko, they're going to be really tough to stop because they were really tough to stop off the start of the year. But crazy things, Jim, where you add in a player into the lineup and yet it doesn't result in instant wins.
Well, that is so true about junior hockey, right? And it is a team game ultimately. And a lot of times you assemble what is essentially a group of all-stars, and you get a defer kind of mentality. Well, I'll just try and chip in, not make a mistake, and then you lose that aggressiveness that made you what the player that you are. And sometimes it takes a while, and chemistry is a funny thing. And there's a long history, in junior hockey of you just never know. I can recall my first appearance at the old London Gardens, a Knights team with Vern Stenlund, and they were really good, and came up against the Marlies with Trevor Johansson, John Anderson, Kerry Forelli, and they were in a playoff matchup, and Knights were out in 5 games, and they were the better team, way better in the regular season. A league final, every prediction was Sault Ste. Marie to beat Kitchener in the 1981 OHL final. Sault scored over 400 goals that year. They had an all-star team, and it was back in the day, there was point series, and Sault Ste. Marie with Terry Crisp as a coach, they didn't win a game. They tied a couple games, but Kitchener swept them aside and went on to the Memorial Cup in Windsor. So you just never know in junior hockey. That's why we love it. And, you do see it the odd time in pro hockey, but not very often. You just have to go out on the ice and perform. And Brantford will eventually get the momentum, and I think they'll be a tough out in the playoffs. Let's face facts, but there's no guarantee in junior hockey, especially.
So it makes it fun. Jim, one of the other things that we need to touch on is what we have seen through the first 2 months now as we turn the page to December, 2 full months, October and November of the OHL season, following some of the fallout of the NCAA rule change, where we have seen guys like Luke Misa, Porter Martone, Jack Ivankovich, they all play for the Brampton Steelheads, or did, all going on to the NCAA. Gavin McKenna going and playing at Penn State. Medicine Hat also lost Ryder Ritchie, and they also lost Kate Lindstrom. And so you see big time changes that way. And we've been wondering what happens to the game, the style, what we see players doing. What are you seeing through 2 months of what we can call the new era of hockey?
Wow. Yeah. So some ups and downs for a lot of players. You have, and as far as just the on ice product, I mean, you have a Porter Martone who's gone in Michigan State and done really well. He is probably a candidate for the Hobey Baker. He's been that good, and Michigan State is that good. And Gavin McKenna has been good, point a game, but he hasn't been the dominant player maybe a lot of people thought. But it is a different game just from this point of view. I just point to the fact that Gavin McKenna has gone to Penn State and is playing with Dane Dowiak. The Knights drafted him 8 years ago, I think, or 7 years ago. He's 23 going on 24. I mean, you are playing against physically developed players, men, and with men's strength, and they are veterans of college hockey. A couple of universities out in the western part of the United States are recruiting out of Canadian universities of veteran players who have been through the CHL, couple of years or a year in the Western Canadian university system. And now they're 20, by the time they get to university in the state, they're 22. This is not 22, 23. This is not easy to go up against this. So that, as far as the on ice, as far as off ice, we have yet to see, obviously, there's a phrase, NIL, name, image, and likeness. This is the provision in the NCAA for players to make money with their name, image, and likeness. And this is a significant amount of money for a one-year commitment each year. And these players are being funded by donors to the programs that they are playing for. And it's pretty attractive when you think about it. I don't know what the CHL can do to combat that, except to say that the CHL is still a development league that is really admired around the world. And I point to Penn State this year. And let's put it this way, Gavin McKenna will have no trouble being available for the World Junior Tournament. Penn State's off for 40 days in the middle of winter. How, and I don't know. I think that's certainly NCAA has a long history of developing NHL players. There's no doubt that it still is very attractive. However, when you are taking 40 days off of hockey in the middle of winter, and that speaks to the student part of student athlete. You have exams and things that you have to attend to, and then school is out, right, for a while. So I think it's not for everybody. It's a different lifestyle, different development plan. And here's where I think it will ultimately end up. The players, their agents, their parents, and the NHL teams will realize there's no hurry, that they can look at this path, this runway of development, and potentially could go 7, 8 years. You've got your junior career, you've got your NHL, you've got your NCAA in there. You can get an education, get your best hockey out of the way, and maybe an NHL career. Some people are late bloomers. They will have a chance to absolutely be the player that they can be. If you look at it. And I also believe that is going to be the end result, that players will look and say, you know what, there's no hurry here. NHL teams love to be able to take their time in signing players and make sure that they're developed properly. And I think that's where it's going to end up. So I don't think there's a reason for panic. I think the two worlds can live together comfortably. And I think that's where we'll ultimately end up. There is no hurry.
Yeah, that's it. And hopefully we do get there, because a lot of times parents, players, even agents, let's hurry up and get to the top. But if you can step back, you've got 4 years, maybe even 5 sometimes, of major junior eligibility. And then you've got the years of eligibility, 5 of them in the NCAA. You could look and call it a decade of development if you wanted to. Typically, it winds up being about 8 years. But you could look and say that's the kind of development that you can get. And that's key when somebody is maybe going through that growth spurt at 17 and a half or 18 years old, or just coming into a point where maybe you didn't play at a high level and now you do. Now you've got more time to round out your game. So 40 days without games for Penn State. That's pretty wild, but that's pretty standard. And that's the way it goes.
I think you're going to see some cautionary stories as well. If you rush to get to the NCAA, you'll find that it's the production. There are players now that are having trouble getting on the 3rd and 4th line of NCAA teams because they're young. They're really young, and the production just isn't quite what it was for them playing major junior, CHL, for example. So, you want to be physically ready and mentally ready to make that jump playing against 22 and 23-year-olds.
Well, we'll see what happens as we move forward. Let's talk quickly about Bo Horvat and Mitch Marner, and I'm not sure what other former London Knights we want to put in there. Names can get mentioned. John Tavares can get mentioned. You look at what he can bring to a dressing room, the kind of year he's having. They're trying to put together the Olympic team roster for Team Canada. I think the one thing, there's no question, Jim, is this. There will be at least one former London Knight, if not multiple, on that roster of 23 players.
Well, I think so. And, the Four Nations showed exactly how Mitch Marner can produce at the highest level. I still think that play that he made to McDavid on the winning goal was one of the great moments in Knights graduate history, really. And what a play he made to stick along the wall, pull a puck off his skate out to McDavid. It's in the net. I think Mitch will be there. I think we may see. I think Bo Horvat is a great candidate. He's one of the top goal getters in the National Hockey League now. And think of what else Bo Horvat can do on the ice.
Fourth line if you need him to.
Yeah.
Kill penalties.
Yes, and I think he'd be a great choice, as well as chipping in with a great shot. His natural strength, I think, is important against international competition, and his skating, I think, is good, and so I think he will be a good candidate. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but it's coming soon, and also the World Junior program, which Mark and Dale Hunter will put together. And let's face facts. I mean, it's Hockey Canada's show, and there'll be more than those guys making the decisions, but they'll have a lot of input for sure. So there's a lot of international intrigue, if you want to put it that way, a little coming up in the next little while. I just hope I hope the arena's ready for the Olympics. They're talking about it. There's no plan B, I heard.
No plan B. That's a little scary.
This has to be ready, this place, and they're building a rink.
Yeah. Well, let's hope the ice is okay, because the world of hockey fans is expecting a whole lot of good hockey, and you need the ice to be good. If you don't have the change rooms in great shape, deal with that. Just please deal with the ice. We will continue to follow all of it from a Knights perspective on the Night Shift. Thanks to Jim Van Horne for being here. Find the show on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Curious Cast Network, wherever you get your shows. And we'll talk Teddy Bear Toss and World Junior Selection Camp roster on the next episode.